Hey everyone, and welcome back to The People vs. OJ, American Crime Story by the Verdict's End. I'm your host, Nicole.
I'm Gary.
And today we are talking about The People vs. OJ, Episode 8. Gary, we've watched the episode a couple times now. What did you think of it?
I like the episode. More information than we had. I haven't been disappointed yet.
I haven't either.
I mean, this is a pretty good series. So hopefully they continue. After the OJ, hopefully they find another case and American Crimes continue with whoever else.
Yeah, another story. I'm pretty sure they already have the next story lined up on who they want to do.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, they'll probably announce it after the season. I really like this episode. I thought it was different, had them showing us the jury and what the jury went through.
Yeah. I
really liked seeing that, even though I think the second time we watched it with my mom, and she's like, the jury didn't look like that. So, I don't know. She couldn't get out of the real life aspect of it.
Yeah, she couldn't get into the entertainment part, the
right.
television show.
Right.
Which these are actors.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing they have to get right, really, is the color. They have to get right that, there was 9 blacks, 5 whites, or 9 whites, 5 blacks. I mean, nobody really cared, exactly how they look. They just got to pinpoint that part.
Right.
Of who actually was on the jury.
All right, so the episode starts off and we see the jury, they're being scolded for being late. Either they were late from coming back from dinner or going to dinner.
Right.
And we find out that they have a lot of rules that they were held accountable for.
Yeah.
They couldn't leave they could leave their room, but they couldn't leave their floor. They didn't have access to any TV. They couldn't even read newspapers.
Unless it was checked first.
They all had to agree on what to watch on TV. They couldn't use the hotel pool. They couldn't talk to other hotel guests. They couldn't even go in each other's room. So I'm guessing if they wanted to talk to each other, they had to do it out in the hallway.
Or they had to do it between meal times.
Right.
Television time, they could barely laugh.
They barely laugh. That was so funny. When ladies like, I'll laugh when I want to laugh.
Yeah.
So
that was a lot of rules.
Did you know that those rules were in effect? And do you think that's like that with all cases, or they did it because this case?
Well, a lot of those rules applies to all cases, but I'm pretty sure that there was extra rules to this one since they were up in hotels. They had to stay. It was supposed to last a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. But normally, jury duty is you're there that day. You're not supposed to discuss it with them what you think or whatever until it's time, and you're back at work the next day.
Right.
So this is a special case, special circumstances.
My thing is, why is the jury held why do they have so much expectations and so much accountability, but the prosecutors, they still get to go home. They still get to live their normal life as they possibly can. The defense team still gets to, and they're expected to not discuss the case and stuff like that. So I don't see why the jury can't just be given those same rules, like, hey, do not talk about the case when you're at home. Do not watch the news. I mean, just little rules that they should follow. Well,
no one's going to follow those rules. A lot of people can get in your head. Like when I talk to your mother,
mm-hmm.
When I talk to your mother, she had me thinking one way all day, no matter how I feel about it.
Right.
So a lot of people get in your head and say, okay, this is what I think, this way it is, and have you thinking something different when you're actually seeing this firsthand for yourself. So they don't want anything to taint your judgment. No television. They don't want the news. Because, the news, they'll put something on television that don't relate to it, but have you feeling some type of way about this person.
Right.
Like, oh, I knew this person was evil.
Okay.
So I can understand why they're doing this. I mean, it's not like this is a bad case to be on.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all. Because, after a case like OJ, after a big case, everybody's writing books.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting book deals.
Well, that's what we kind of saw this episode. One of the jurors, he says this is like the Super Bowl, but we get to pick the winner.
Right.
And then I believe that's the same guy. He was an alternate. That was the same guy that finally he got to go on the jury. But then they found out his note-taking was very thorough and that it looked like maybe he was going to be trying to write a book about the whole thing.
I mean, of course. I mean, if he's smart.
Yeah, if he's smart, then I was like, oh, is that wrong? Like, I'd be doing the same thing probably. I don't know, but yeah. I guess that's not allowed.
But, I mean, sometimes if they know you're going to write a book, they think your mind is already made up. Mm-hmm. Like they said, someone shopping a book around saying that Justice for Nicole.
Right.
Now, that's wrong.
Yeah, like Justice for Nicole, yeah. I mean, you do that after the fact if you felt that way. But during the case, it's like your mind's already made up before all the evidence is brought to you.
Like, you got to wait, or you just got to keep that to yourself.
Right.
Your feelings, because usually a lot of people's mind is made up. I mean, I know the prosecutor and the defense team, they ask you a lot of questions before you become a juror, before they select you. But I mean, really, you're saying anything, but most of the time your mind is made up, unless you don't know anything at all about the case, which is impossible not to know anything about the OJ case at this time.
Right. I was just thinking when they were saying no TV, no this, I'm like, what would they have done if the OJ case was now? Like, what if they took people's cell phones? Because there's news everywhere.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they would have.
Oh my gosh. Like, what would they do? They take people's Kindle. They take everything from you. It would be rough. Like, I keep thinking, like, okay, I can go without the TV, but not my phone, not some electronic.
I mean, it's almost like they're in prison also.
Yeah. I mean, I felt them. Yes, they're not going to be getting assaulted or anything. Worry about that in their own little quote unquote prison. But that's a boring life. They have no one to talk to, no TV, no entertainment, but some old magazines probably.
8 months.
8 months of that. That's and then you see the lady, the hotel breakfast was on some bullshit too. Her eggs were all salt. Remember, she was looking at like this shit again for 8 months. Because you're eating the same hotel breakfast food. I'm pretty sure they don't change up that menu. That continental breakfast stays the same every day.
Well, I probably wouldn't mind. I'd just be happy to have breakfast every day.
Yeah, I mean, but look that brings to the next point, because when the jury first gets there, you see them all excited. Ladies all packed. She packed a lot of stuff because she's like, I want to look nice. Another guy's like, hey, I'm just happy to get away from the wife for a few weeks. Like, one guy puts on his swim trunks, realizes, no, this is not a vacation.
Yeah.
And you think that at first, and then as time goes on, you're like, this is bullshit. I miss my bed. I miss my TV. I miss my family, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So I think they all kind of went into it with bright green eyes and were excited. And 8 months down the road, it was a very different story.
Right. And how long can you watch reruns?
Oh, yeah. Well, reruns of... Well, that is another thing. Were they only allowed to watch one TV show a day? Because when they were arguing over versus Martin versus Seinfeld, like, could you not watch Martin first and then watch Seinfeld, or vice versa? Like, what, do you guys only get a half-hour TV show?
That's a good question. Maybe.
That's all I thought. I was like, okay, why are they even arguing?
Because they had a curfew.
All right. And then it just seems like, I don't know, maybe they should have been allowed a DVD player, like a portable DVD player.
Yo, you know what the time it was?
Oh, yeah, DVD stuff.
What are you talking about, DVD?
yeah, okay. Duh. I was going to say a portable DVD player, you're not watching, you don't see any media, but that was not even then. Was there such thing as a portable VHS back then? Or it was probably super expensive, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there were portable yeah, there were. You know, the ones that you just take with you and hook up?
Yeah.
Hold up, you talking about like the ones that flip out and you just look at?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. No.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, why don't they just let them have their own, like, some type of way they watch their own TV shows in their room, but it doesn't give them news and everything like that?
Well, I'm pretty sure that if they had, because you remember back then, everything was about antenna. Mm-hmm. You didn't really need all this cable and everything. So as long as your TV came on and you had good reception, you were able to watch anything. You could turn any news channel, any television show.
Okay. So my important question to you, Gary, is Martin or Seinfeld? What would you pick?
I mean, come on, man. I mean, you know I pick Martin.
What's up?
Yeah, but I like both shows. So
I like both shows too.
Yeah, we watch both all the time. So it probably wouldn't matter. But if I had, it depends on what day it is.
Right.
Because I know me and you, we binge watch Seinfeld. Mm-hmm. And we binge watch Martin.
I'm thinking back then I would have picked Martin, but it's only because I didn't start watching Seinfeld until it was like on its last season.
Yeah.
Like that last season is when I finally got into, I mean, I was young then, so I got into Seinfeld then, but you could still watch that show and crack up laughing. Both shows. We still watch both.
Yeah, we still watch both.
But it was just funny seeing them argue over little petty stuff. Yeah. Like, it seems petty to us, but I'm pretty sure if we were in their position, you'd be kind of pissed off too. Like, Seinfeld, Martin, like, I don't know. Everything would be pissing you off, you know? People sitting, I mean, it was like high school all over again. Yeah. The girl sitting by herself, everyone was like, who she think she is, sitting by herself. Like, why do you give a fuck? Like, let her sit by herself.
She thinks she's better than the rest of us.
Yeah. Then the other lady, what was up with the juror that came in late with the not the detectives, but the servicemen? The lady with the glasses, and she got her food, and people were staring off at her.
Well, remember her police officer, the one that she was so in love with, it seemed like. Remember they switched him out.
Okay.
And remember, he was pretty good to her. He let her use the phone after curfew.
Yeah.
So, I think she was just mad behind that.
Okay, because the next time after that, that's when she came in black actually that day. And then after that, they all started wearing black.
Yeah.
And as the case...
Well, they all wore black that day. I guess they switched clothes and they came in like they're going to a funeral or something.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they was tired of that bullshit. And then the new guards that came in, they didn't really know them, so they were strictly about the rules.
Right.
Remember the guy said, "You're late. Keep moving along, or you get arrested." Like, what's that about? These are not criminals right here.
Yeah, and they called them by their number, like they're criminals. 620-420. It's like, wait, I'm not a criminal. Why can't you call me by my name?
Right.
Even the judge later on, when the lady was talking to one of the jurors was talking to the judge, and she was having a hard time. He kept calling her by her number. She's like, my name is Tracy or whatever.
Yeah.
I really like this episode. I love seeing the juror because I never even thought about, I never even considered thinking about what they were going through or what they thought. So I hope to see a little more, actually.
Right.
And actually, I would have minded if the whole episode was just the juror, them talking about it, different little scandals going on. It would just been a cool... one-sided, one episode arc of just the jurors.
Well, it seems like OJ had more freedom than the jurors.
Yeah, he's playing cards with his friend. He even had some jelly beans or something there.
Come on, those were Skittles.
Skittles. How do you get those Skittles? But before we go to OJ and them, I want to talk about all the craziness with the jurors, the dismissal of the jurors, the alternates coming in. As we discussed before, I was very young when this show came out, when this case happened. So... did you know that they did all those switches with the jurors?
No.
That is, they did a lot. Like, the first one was like, okay, the first juror got dismissed because he lied about domestic violence.
Right.
Then Then
he lied about lying about domestic violence.
Yeah, he's like, it was not that. What are you trying to say? Like, we're all good now? Or he was riding around in the car with the windows rolled up.
With the doors locked.
Yeah, so the wife, I'm guessing, was in the car with him?
Yeah.
Okay, so he almost kidnapped her pretty much.
I mean, that is kidnapping.
Yeah, if she didn't want to get out. If she wanted to get out and he wasn't allowing her.
I mean, it doesn't seem that serious at the time. Like, he may have, no, I got to talk to you. No, I'm not going to stop in this car. I'm talking. We're talking right now.
Right.
So it may not seem that serious to you, but if you look at it from a law perspective, that's some serious stuff.
It's pretty damn serious.
I mean, you can't, if somebody want to go, you got to let them go.
Well, we see juror 462 was a domestic violence victim. And I love what Judge Ito said, because this was a black woman, and they wanted her dismissed. And I was like, wait, why would they want her dismissed? Because as far as the prosecutor want her dismissed, why would they want her dismissed? Wouldn't a victim be more prone to convict OJ?
Right.
And that's what Judge Ito said, Judge Lance Ito. He said, I'm pretty sure we would not be having this conversation, or we'd be having a different conversation if this juror was white. Right.
And when he said that, I was confused for a second, and Nicole explained it to me. It was like, yeah, the prosecution wanted her to dismiss, and she's a rape victim. When she had more sympathy for Nicole, and I thought about why would they want her dismissed?
Right. So that was interesting that they showed that, and it was several other jurors got let go too. The one that was writing the book, I'm guessing the one that went crazy towards the end, they tried to leave the. She jumped over. That was a crazy scene.
She nutted up.
So I'm assuming they let her go. Did it show them let her go?
They had to.
Oh yeah, they let her go because then the white lady, they had the white older lady that they were all afraid of.
Yeah, they called her devil.
The devil, no, the demon or the devil.
Demon.
Yeah, something like that. She got picked. And they, you know what? They picked the right one because she looks like the type that is strict and. They showed her knitting, and she just looked like the type that would convict,
Right. She looked like it.
We'll have to see.
Like they said, that she like the type that actually listen to evidence.
Yes. Well, that's what the prosecution said.
So.
But then OJ's team said she convinced, on another juror she was on, she convinced the whole people, she switched them. It
was 11-1, and she got all of them to switch their verdict.
Right.
When people are ready to go home, they're ready to go. Like, babe, forget it, man.
Forget it. Let's just go.
Let's just. Okay. She's not gonna change her mind. And that's what's wrong. That's the problem with these cases.
Yeah.
And the problem with, it's good to have a jury of your peers, but if it has to be a unanimous decision, then that's a big problem.
Yeah. Because even the Supreme Court, when they vote, it's whatever. It's like 5-4 or whatever. It's
right.
Majority.
Yeah.
But then I guess when it comes to somebody's life, I don't know if I want my life tangled, like a majority decision.
I'd rather have a 11-1 than that one person just deadlock it and now I have to do this all over again.
Yeah, because they discussed a mistrial and
right.
OJ was like, no, I cannot go through this all over again. Like,
right.
We do not want a mistrial.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy to go through. And they said that if they go through it again, OJ may not win. There's no way OJ will win if they do it again.
Why wouldn't he win?
Because the prosecution, they'd be ready. They'll be ready for all this stuff.
They see all their mistakes from the first trial.
Yeah, they would never put the glove back on them.
Right.
They probably go with different witnesses.
I agree. They would go different witnesses. They would have their facts up and ready.
Right.
They would have more stuff. Even though I feel already that they have a strong case. Like, so far, it still looks strong. Like, I think we're finished talking about the jury, right? The jury?
Yeah.
Okay. So next, the evidence that they brought up this week's episode was the DNA. And they had a DNA expert on trial. And his testimony when the prosecution, interviewed him, he seemed like a very good witness. He seemed like a very good expert.
Right.
And he said it was like 1 in 170 million chances that it could be someone else's DNA besides OJ. And that DNA was at the crime scene. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
And even Robert Kardashian, we see him throughout the episode, and we'll get to that later. We see him like hearing that evidence, and he's like, "What the?"
Yeah.
So I'll get to that later. But what did you think about the expert giving that DNA when you heard that information? Even though, yes, at the same time it sounded difficult to understand, but when he put it in layman's terms, and you hear those facts, what did you think of it, or what did you think the jury was thinking?
Anybody in their right mind would take note of that and be like, wow, this guy is guilty.
Right.
There's no way that this blood was found in all 3 places and they're all linked to him and only him. Well, 1 out of 170 million. I mean, anybody in their right mind would take note of that and say, okay, now I'm listening. The gloves that we throw it out the window. Now it's time to really sit up and take note about what's going on now.
Right. Yeah, when you hear facts that strong or evidence that strong, I don't see how you can turn away from it or ignore that information.
You can't ignore it. And you see his friends didn't ignore it.
Right.
Remember they were playing poker when, the glove didn't fit. Mm-hmm. They were all playing poker like, oh, they might as well stop this case now.
Yeah.
This trial might as well be over.
They made a joke and they're like, okay, so what's next? And they're like, DNA. And they're like, yeah, but who knows what that is? Like, no one understood that. Although DNA today, you hear that they got DNA evidence, it's a slam dunk it's almost a slam dunk for a prosecutor today. If they have DNA.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
I still think it's because I was watching the case recently and it had DNA and they were still talking all that mumbo jumbo that this is this. I mean, nobody understand that talk.
Okay.
I was watching the trial recently. Mm-hmm. And I was confused about, I understand where they was going at with it. They need to put it in layman's term.
Always.
Say, hey, this DNA we found, and it belongs to that dude right there.
Right,
keep it simple.
right. That is his DNA. It's no one else's. The only way he got there is if he did the crime. However, the OJ defense comes up there, and I really like them, and they kind of tear this dude down. Whereas they're like, okay, there was some irregularities with how the DNA was handled or how you guys handled the crime scene. And that's when we learned that they had took a blanket outside of, or from Nicole's house and put it over Nicole's body to cover her body.
Right.
OJ used to, I don't know if he lived in that house, but they were together. He's been in that house before. So his DNA could have been on that blanket.
Right. Well, they said that they were the most married couple.
Right.
So they were still doing married things.
Okay.
Having married relations.
Now, I wonder I wonder if there was anyone else's DNA on that blanket. Was it just OJ's DNA? Was the kid's DNA on the blanket? Was it Ron Goldman's DNA on the blanket? And I guess times have definitely changed from when that crime happened from what happened today, because it seems like if they wanted to cover a dead body, they would put like a sheet over it or something rather than like go in the house and grab evidence.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they would do that if the victim was alive. Like, oh, keep her warm. The EMTs, they have blankets of their own.
Well, I don't think that they would have did it back in those days either. I think this case was just really mishandled.
Due to the fact that it was such a public case or a public profile.
Because we see how long she was uncovered. Mm-hmm. She was there practically, it had to be like over 8 hours.
Yeah.
They could have waited to cover up with a blanket from an EMT.
I agree.
Like, I mean, we're going to go back to the shoes. The shoes were taken from OJ's house and put in his trunk because the officer didn't know it was evidence at the time. Well, if you don't think that's evidence at the time, really, isn't that called stealing?
Right.
I mean, what were you going to do? It's a memorabilia. So there's a lot of things that just real funny about this case. This is a slam dunk case. All you got to do is keep it honest. But like I said, we learned in the past that a lot of people would do whatever it take just to get the conviction.
Right.
Like they do a little extra stuff like, if they may not see this as being a crime, but I'm going to make sure, let me dip a spoon in peanut butter and throw it on his bed because we know Nicole like peanut butter. He stole the spoon, something crazy. Mm-hmm. So that will, link this together. When if they would have kept this case 100% honest, I honestly think that it was a slam dunk case.
Right.
But by them making all these mistakes, I really don't know.
And I think that's where the jury went to. It's one thing where you make one or two mistakes, they probably could have overlooked it. But it's like when you start seeing this mistake and that mistake, then you start hearing about racist police and if you have doubt, maybe some of them did think, yeah, he probably did it. But if you start having doubt, it's going to be hard to convict someone when you're like, yeah, but what that slim chance that he didn't do it?
Because the thing is, and I'm going to just use it simple. Like if somebody lied to you once, you think, what else have they lied to me about? Mm-hmm. They could have been lying to me about their whole life.
Or when they lie about something small, it's like, hold on, if you lied about something that small, have you been lying about more serious stuff?
Right. So it's the same case. If you planted this or did this wrong, then you could have did all of this.
Right. And that's where kind of, I guess Rob Kardashian, he was feeling conflicted this episode because he asked OJ once when his friends didn't come. He's like, how did the blood get everywhere? Like your blood wasn't just in one spot. It was everywhere. It was in your car, which I can excuse the car, but the crime scene is the biggest one. And then
the crime scene is the biggest one.
The crime scene is the only one that's big because we saw OJ had a cut on his hand. So if he was in his car when he got his hand cut, I can see why he had blood there. And then if they found a couple drops of blood at his house, I could see if his hand was bleeding, it was leaking. I could see blood there.
Right.
But how did the blood get to the scene of the crime is the question.
That's the only question.
Right.
And you find blood in his car. Yeah, my blood is in my car.
Right.
In my car. Or in my house. Now, I can see if they found, they say on the socks. There was both bloods on the socks.
Mm-hmm. On whose socks?
On OJ socks.
Okay.
At his house.
And where were they at the scene of the crime? Do we know?
They found his socks at his house. At his home.
No, but where was his blood found at the scene of the crime?
On the doorknob going into the house.
Okay. Fresh blood? Or did they find, when they pulled it? I wonder. Was it fresh blood or?
I don't know.
Okay. Sometimes some of the details they go into are not that clear in the show. You know how we talked about the gloves, were they women gloves, men gloves, and then even now this blood. I understand they said they found the blood, but where? Did you find the blood inside her house in the kitchen sink or was old, or did you find a blood stain on a cabinet, or did you actually find blood right where the bodies were?
Right.
Because they said the crime scene, but I'm guessing that whole house was the crime scene. I just kind of want to know. And was it fresh blood? Was it, blood that seemed like it just got there within hours before or what? So, I don't know. I just have questions about that. But Rob Kardashian's clearly having those same questions because he's asking OJ, and OJ's like, are my friends really asking these questions? And he's like, yeah, they are. That's why they're not coming back.
Well, he was asking who's really asking these questions.
Yeah.
And he was really getting to the down to...
Are you asking?
Yeah. This is coming from you.
And sure enough, Rob Kardashian, by the end of the episode, it's showing him that he no longer thinks OJ is innocent.
Right.
He goes to Chris's house and he cries. And I felt really bad for him because he kind of was in a tough spot. He's like, if I leave now, everyone's going to know why I left. And I'm pretty much going to convict OJ. He's going to get convicted for sure if I leave. So I'll just have to wait it out. And then after that, he's out of our lives for good. What do you think about that? Like, what do you think? Do you think he should tell the rest of the team, this is how I feel, I'll sit here and I'll be here, but I'm not actually participating in this anymore? Or what would you do in that situation?
Well, he has no choice right now but to participate, unless he leaves.
Well, he doesn't have to participate. He could just be there, present.
Well, really, he's already just there.
Yeah.
Because we haven't actually seen him do anything yet.
Yeah, he hasn't cross-examined anyone. He hasn't done anything yet.
He hasn't found no evidence.
Yeah.
So really that's all he's doing is sitting there. And, just becoming famous, part of the dream team.
Right.
But it's hard for me to believe that his feelings changed. Because, he was OJ's biggest fan. OJ, he was like, oh, the juice couldn't do it.
Right.
Don't say that about Uncle Juice. He was like OJ's biggest fan. And now, I guess once reality hits and there's no other logical explanation for a lot of these things, then you're going to feel some type of way. Like, oh, man, they may be right. The juice really is loose.
That's what I'm thinking kind of happened. We saw throughout this whole season so far, he's had OJ's back.
Yeah.
But now, as he listens to the evidence that the prosecution has, there's no denying it for him. He can't look the other way anymore. He can't just take his friend's word for it anymore when the evidence is clearly stacking up against him. I don't know what I would have done in that situation. I understand as someone that took an oath and he's his lawyer. He would hate to just leave in the middle of the case. It would look weird. Him sticking it out would be the best decision, but I do kind of wonder if that's really what happened. We'll never know because Rob Kardashian has passed away since the case has happened. Unless once the show's over, we look at facts and see if he ever publicly came out and said how he really felt.
Yeah. Find a book that he's written or
yeah.
part of.
Yeah, I knew he was guilty. Maybe that could have been the book. All right, last thing I want to discuss is OJ, he's begging to get on the stand. And I like seeing that they were even considering it. It looks like Rob Shapiro was like, no, and Johnny Cochran was like, maybe. And they do a mock cross-examination with OJ. They have a female person be the prosecutor. And when they ask him what about happened when you sent her to the hospital in 1989 or whatever, New Year's party, he's like, she must have failed. Like, he was like, oh, we tussled a little, or she must have failed. What did you think of him saying that type of stuff?
Well, any man that think it's okay to tussle with a woman, there's something mentally wrong with them. Mm-hmm. Any man, we're stronger than women.
Right.
So OJ has... I don't know what it is. He has problems. His issues. It's something not right about his mental thinking. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's something not right about. It's something not right there.
I would agree. Because even you see them looking at each other, the lawyers, and they're like, "Oh shit, we cannot put this dude on the stand."
Right, because no one else understands that. I mean, maybe that's rich people problems.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying abuse is only for rich people, but I'm saying maybe you thinking it's okay is just tussling. Maybe that's rich people problem. Oh yeah, but we tussled a little bit.
No, I don't even think it's rich people problems. I think it's more an OJ situation. Because actually, domestic violence is more prevalent in low-income homes than it is in higher-income homes.
That we know of. Well, it got to be more prevalent because there's way more low-income homes.
Well, not only that, there's more stress when you're in a low-income home versus you're making $400,000 a year, let's say, versus $50,000 a year. I
mean, domestic violence takes place everywhere.
No, that's true.
Let's get that out of the way. Let's put this out there. You have a lot of wealthy people, wealthy women that's going through domestic violence, they would never say anything because they are living a good lifestyle. Their man is taking care of them. Oh, he's going to send me on a shopping spree. And we see this, like the assault on one of the football players that took place in the elevator. Mm-hmm. She never came forward. It was caught on tape.
That's true.
So it's a lot of this stuff that's going around that's being caught on tape, or maybe getting caught during a phone conversation, or may come out years later after she done killed him. Like, oh, he was very abusive and this happened. Mm-hmm. So it happens everywhere.
I agree.
But to have a mindset that this is okay, that's all we was doing, I don't know. I just don't see that happening everywhere.
All right.
Because I mean, it's odd to me to see how anybody think this is okay. Think they're just a tussle or just getting drunk. And yeah, we got drunk. Yeah, we took a couple swings at each other, but it's nothing.
Right.
That's what everybody do around here.
Well, that final scene, I forgot who got the phone call or something, but was it one of the police officers and all they wrote down was Furman is racist, like, or he publicly said the N-word, or he wanted to set up the N-words, or
yeah, he has evidence in his house saying that he
on voice or something, an audio recording of him saying
that he just want to set up there. Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming that will be next week.
Right.
We'll see a lot more of Mark Furman, and maybe they'll bring him back on the stand, and we'll see where that goes. Especially during that time, racism played such a big role. Racism was so prevalent in society at that time, especially with the Rodney King thing happening 2 years prior. I definitely think that will help his case. It can only help his case if it shows that the lead detective on the case was racist. Whether he did anything wrong or not, you hear that, you go, okay.
I mean, you're right. So, I mean, right now I have the prosecution being one up this week as far as the case goes. Even though the defense broke down saying, well, you had put the blanket over there, mm-hmm. or this happened. I mean, you can't really argue the facts. The DNA was pretty factual to me, so I give the prosecution like one up this week.
Okay. Even though that DNA expert, like, what was up with him shaking the hands, though, of the defense team, even though he was for the prosecution?
I don't think he was for anybody. I think he was doing his job.
Yeah, but it just...
The prosecution may have put him up there, but I don't think that he would have... I think he would walk to his seat and you see one person stick their hand down and shake your hand, then everybody behind say, okay, yeah, we're going to go with this, and shake his hand. He was just put in an awkward situation.
Okay, because Chris Darn was like, he's seriously shaking their hand right now, like he was pissed off.
Yeah, I mean, you had a dream team. But I'm going to still put a prosecution one up. As far as the end go, where they got that letter or whatever, I guess we'll see what happens next week, because it looks like it's going to heat up.
Right. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week we have 2 episodes left, episodes 9 and 10. And Empire comes back on next week as well. So you guys can follow us on the Empire podcast if you watch that show. It has its own feed, Empire Podcast. And then also we have a few more episodes left of Walking Dead. So listen to that one as well. It's the Walking Dead series. And you can find all of our other podcasts on theverdictsend.com. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Nicole.
I'm Gary.